Hello everybody, my name is Chris, and now we're going to begin our study with the present simple and the present continuous tense. Now, I'm sure that all of you already know how to form the present simple tense in English, but as they say, repetition is the mother of learning. So now, let's turn to the present simple tense in affirmative, interrogative, and negative sentences. And be careful when using the present simple tense because you want to look for verbs that end with S when used with he, she, and it. He does, she does, it does. However, when using the pronouns I, you, we, and they, we do not use an S ending. We say I do, you do, we do, and they do. So the following adverbs are used as signal words or indicators of the present simple tense. Usually, always, often, frequently, every day, week, month, year. We also use adverbs like the phrase every. For example, every Monday, every Tuesday, every weekend, every month, every anything. But as long as you see every. Or, for example, phrases like on weekends or on Wednesdays, or other phrases like ever, never, sometimes, seldom, rarely, or even daily. We will use the present simple tense. So, let's look at some examples of how to use the present simple tense. For example, if I say something like, my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. every morning, or every morning, I rush around my house trying to find everything I need before I leave. Here, I'm talking about habits or things that I do often. So because it's a habit, I use the present simple tense. But I can also say something like, the sun sets in the west, or water boils at 100 degrees. Now, here, I'm not talking about a habit. But I am talking about something that is always true, what we call general truths. And because this is always true, I use the present simple tense to discuss it. But I can also say, the train from London arrives at 6:30. Or I can also say, the meeting starts at 12 p.m. sharp. And here, I'm not talking about a habit or something that is generally true. But I am talking about something that is happening in accordance with a schedule. Or, put another way, something that is happening following a schedule or a timetable or a program of some sort. And in this case, we still use the present simple tense. So we use the present simple tense with non-continuous verbs, and these are verbs of possession or feelings or relations or opinions. And you should note that it's impossible to use a non-continuous verb in its continuous form with the same meaning. They will change meanings in their continuous forms. So, before we look at how to use these, let's look at some examples. So, some verbs of senses, verbs like feel, sense, look, hear, taste, or verbs of mental activity like think, believe, suppose, deny. Some examples of verbs of feelings and emotions, verbs like love, like, hate, want, or also verbs of possession, have, own, belong. So let's look at some examples of these in their correct and their incorrect forms. So the wrong sentence, I'm wanting a cup of coffee, and the correct, I want a cup of coffee. Or another example, I'm not hearing you. In the second example, the correct example, I don't hear you, or I cannot hear you. The third example, I'm feeling badly today. Or 3, I feel badly today. Or the last example, I see badly in the darkness, or I can see badly in the darkness. So please pay attention, by the way, to the fact that we can, and often do, use the structure can with see, etc. In addition, there are some exceptions to the usage of non-continuous verbs, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, it's time to learn how to use and form the present continuous tense. So now, let's look at the present continuous tense in its affirmative, interrogative, and negative forms. To form the present continuous tense, we use the verb to be, in its appropriate conjugation, of course, combined with the present participle, the ing form, of the main verb. And the following words are signal words or indicators that the present continuous tense is being or should be used. We use certain signal words to show that the present continuous tense is being used or should be used, such as now, at the moment, still, at the present time, today, and these days. However, there are many more. So now let's examine some cases of usage of the present continuous tense. For example, if I say, I'm speaking to the prospective students right now, or look, the dog is coming down the street. Right now, I'm talking about events that are happening at this moment, just like I am speaking to you. It's right now. However, I can also say that you are constantly interrupting me when I'm talking, or you're always running late to the meetings. And here, I am talking about a habit. I am talking about something that happens all the time. But here it is something that annoys me, that irritates me, something that makes me angry, which is why I am using the present continuous instead of the present simple. So I can also say sentences like, more and more animals are becoming extinct, or, like it is now, it's getting colder and colder every day. And here I'm using the present continuous tense to express events or actions that are currently developing or changing. But now let's read and consider two more sentences. I can still say, for example, the family is moving into their new house next week. Or, we are going to Paris next week. And here, I'm using the present continuous tense to talk about events that will happen in the near future. They are plans that have already been decided and made. And finally, be very, very careful not to confuse the meanings of the present simple and the present continuous tenses when talking about future events. For example, if I say, I leave for London tomorrow at 6:30, that is according to the airport's schedule. I know, according to their schedule, that my plane will leave tomorrow at 6:30. However, if I say, I'm leaving for London tomorrow at 6:30 a.m., it's my intention, it's my plan to leave, and I've already made some efforts, some preparations in order to do this. But having spoken about non-continuous verbs earlier, I noted that there may be some exceptions in the way that they are used. Some non-continuous verbs are used in the present continuous tense, but their meaning changes. So let's look at some examples to see how the meaning can change in these cases. The first few examples. I think you are right, or I'm thinking about the project. Here, I think you are right applies to a discussion or a conversation that we are having, and if we wait 5-10 minutes, I will still probably think that you are right. However, I'm thinking about the project refers to the process right now. I am right now thinking about the project, but I may not be in 10 minutes. Or I can say, do you have siblings? And I am having dinner with my colleague at the moment. Here, have is okay to use in its continuous form when you are using it in the continuous tense in a phrase. For example, I am having dinner, I am having a good time. This is okay. Or the next example, food tastes delicious, and Mom is tasting the food right now to see if it's salty enough. Here, food always tastes delicious, or it should. But in the second example, Mom isn't always tasting food. Here, she's tasting it right at this moment for a specific reason. It's still a process. Or the next few examples, I can see a crowd of people in the street. I see what you mean, and I'm seeing the dentist tomorrow. In the first sentence, I'm speaking about my ability to see a crowd of people. I can see them. But in the second, I see what you mean, what I'm actually saying is, I understand. I understand what you are telling me. And the third example, I'm seeing the dentist tomorrow, just like I'm leaving for London tomorrow. Here, I'm expressing plans, preparations, something I am planning to do in the near future and have already taken some actions, in this case, making an appointment, to do as I plan. In the next examples, your perfume smells good, and the dog is smelling the food. In the first one, I'm saying that your perfume smells good, and just like in the first example, if we wait 10 minutes, hopefully, your perfume will still smell good. But the dog may not be smelling the food in 10 minutes. We don't know. And the last two examples, I feel bad today, and I'm feeling for the key in complete darkness. Now, these two have a completely different meaning. I feel bad today. Here, I'm talking about myself. I don't feel well. Maybe I'm sick, maybe I'm depressed. However, I am feeling for the key is not talking about a state like happy or sad or feeling bad. Here, it's talking about searching. It's an action. The meaning changes to something like, I can't see anything and I'm looking for a key and I'm trying to use my hands and my feet to look for it, but it's an action. I don't feel for the key. I am feeling for the key. In complete darkness, I am searching. So today we've discussed the differences between the present continuous and the present simple tenses, as well as how to form both tenses. But let's revise everything that we've talked about today. Do not forget that some non-continuous verbs change their meaning when used in the continuous tense. This is very important and will be very important much later. Have a nice day. See you.